Bad Teacher is a 2011 American black comedy film directed by Jake Kasdan based on a screenplay by Lee Eisenberg and Gene Stupnitsky, and starring Cameron Diaz, Justin Timberlake, Lucy Punch and Jason Segel. The film was released in the United Kingdom on June 17 and in the United States and Canada on June 24, 2011. Plot: Elizabeth Halsey is an immoral, gold-digging Chicago area teacher at the fictional John Adams Middle School who curses at her students, drinks heavily, smokes marijuana, and shows movies while she sleeps through class. She plans to quit teaching and marry her wealthy fiancé copyright, but when he dumps her after realizing she is only after his money, she must resume her job. She tries to win over substitute teacher Scott Delacorte, who is also wealthy. Amy Squirrel, a dedicated but overly enthusiastic teacher and colleague of Elizabeth, also pursues Scott while the school's gym teacher, Russell Gettis, makes it clear that he is interested in Elizabeth romantically. She, however, is not interested in him. Early in the film, Elizabeth plans to get surgery to enlarge her breasts, and becomes all the more motivated to do so once she learns Scott's ex-girlfriend had large breasts. However, she cannot afford the $9,300 procedure. To make matters worse, Scott admits that he has a crush on Amy, only viewing Elizabeth as a friend. Elizabeth attempts to raise money for the surgery by participating in her 7th grade class car washing provocative clothing and by manipulating parents to give her money for more school supplies and tutoring, but her efforts are not enough. Amy, acting on the growing resentment between them due to Elizabeth pursuing Scott and ignoring school rules, attempts to warn the principal about Elizabeth's embezzlement scheme, but he dismisses her claims as groundless. Elizabeth later learns that the teacher of the class with the highest state test scores will receive a $5,700 bonus. With this knowledge, Elizabeth decides to change her style of teaching, forcing the class to study intensely for the upcoming test. However, the change is too late and insufficient. The students have low scores on their quizzes, frustrating her even more. Meanwhile, she befriends Russell the gym teacher as Amy and Scott start dating. Elizabeth steals the state test answers by impersonating a journalist and seducing Carl Hallaby, a state professor who is in charge of creating and distributing the exams. Elizabeth convinces Carl to go into his office to have sex, but instead drugs him and steals the test. A month later Elizabeth wins the bonus, completing her needed funds, and pays for the appointment to get her breasts enlarged. When Elizabeth learns that Amy and Scott are chaperoning an upcoming field trip, she smears an apple with poison ivy and leaves it for Amy, who ends up with blisters covering her face and cannot go. On the trip, Elizabeth seduces Scott. They dry hump and Elizabeth secretly calls Amy using Scott's phone, leaving a message recording all the action, ensuring she knows about the affair. However, Scott's peculiar behavior, which was subtly exposed by Russell when Scott would agree with anything even if it's contradictory, disappoints Elizabeth. Elizabeth later gives advice to one of her students who has an unrequited crush on the superficial chasing class, which causes her to reflect on how she has been superficial as well. Left behind at the school, Amy switches Elizabeth's desk with her own to trick the janitor into unlocking Elizabeth's sealed drawer. The evidence Amy finds leads her to suspect Elizabeth cheated on the state exam. Amy informs the principal and gets Carl to testify against her. However, Elizabeth took embarrassing photos of Carl while he was drugged and uses them to blackmail him to say she is innocent. Having noticed her desk was switched, Elizabeth informs the principal that some teachers in the school are doing drugs. When the police bring a sniffer dog to search the school, they find Elizabeth's mini liquor bottles, marijuana and OxyContin pills in Amy's classroom, in Elizabeth's desk. Amy is moved to the worst school in the county by the superintendent. Scott asks Elizabeth to start over, but Elizabeth rejects him in favor of a relationship with Russell. When the new school year starts, Elizabeth is kinder to her co-workers, has started a relationship with Russell, and did not get the breast enlargement because she feels that she looks fine the way she is. Elizabeth also has a new position in the school as the new guidance counselor. Cast: Cameron Diaz as Elizabeth Halsey, a gold-digging, drug-abusing teacher, Lucy Punch as Amy Squirrel, Elizabeth's co-worker rival who attempts to discredit Elizabeth, Jason Segel as Russell Gettis, a gym teacher who is smitten with Elizabeth, Justin Timberlake as Scott Delacorte, a substitute teacher whom Elizabeth likes, Phyllis Smith as Lynn Davis, Elizabeth's best friend and fellow teacher, John Michael Higgins as Wally Sner, the principal at Jams, Dave Allen as Sandy Pincus, Molly Shannon as Melody Tiara, Garrett's mother who invites Elizabeth to spend Christmas with her family, Eric Stonestreet as Kirk, Elizabeth's roommate, Thomas Lennon as Carl Hallaby, an educator who gets seduced and blackmailed by Elizabeth, Nat Faxon as Mark, Elizabeth's wealthy fiancé copyright who dumps her at the beginning of the film, Caitlin Davey as Sasha Abernathy, a student who seems to idolize Elizabeth, Matthew J. Evans as Garrett Tiara, a Lover-struck boy, Noah Moonk as Tristan Moonk, one of Elizabeth's students, Catherine Newton as Chase Rubin Rossi, Garrett's crush, Ajab Bear as Devon, Gabby and Chase Rubin Rossi's friend, later ends up with Garrett, Andra Neshita as Gabby, Devon and Chase Rubin Rossi's friend. Production, Bad Teacher is directed by Jake Kasdan based on a screenplay by Lee Eisenberg and Gene Stupnitsky. Columbia Pictures purchased Eisenberg and Stupnitsky's spec script in August 2008. In May 2009, Kasdan was hired to direct Bad Teacher. The following December, Cameron Diaz was cast in the film's lead role. Justin Timberlake was cast opposite Diaz in March 2010, and filming began later in the month. Release, box office performance. The film was released in North America on June 24, 2011 in 3,049 theaters. It took in $12,243,987 €, $4,016 per theater €, in its opening day, and grossed a total of $31,603,106 in its opening weekend, finishing second at the box office, behind Cars 2. In Germany, the film reached number 1 on the country's cinema charts in its opening week after 496,000 people saw the film. This caused Kung Fu Panda 2, which reached number 1 the week before, to fall to number 2. The film grossed $100.3 million in the USA and Canada while its worldwide total stands at $216.2 million. Critical reaction: a film received mixed reviews from critics. As of July 2014, review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes reported that 45% of 177 critics had given the film a positive review, with a rating average of 5.3 out of 10. The site's consensus was that in spite of a promising concept and a charmingly brazen performance from Cameron Diaz, Bad Teacher is never as funny as it should be. Metacritic reported the film had an average score of 47 out of 100. Based on 38 reviews. Cinema Score polls reported that the average grade moviegoers gave the film was a C+. Accolades: Home media: Bad Teacher was released on DVD, Blu-ray, and a combo pack on October 18, 2011. Sequel and TV series. On June 20, 2013, Sony announced that it was working on Bad Teacher 2. The company hired Justin Muln to write the sequel. Lee Eisenberg and Gene Stupnitsky, who wrote the first film, will return as producers. A release from Sony Studios said the project is being developed for Cameron Diaz to star in the film but no deal is yet set with the actress. Jake Kasdan will again be the director. On May 23, 2013, CBS announced a TV series based on the movie to debut in the 2013-14 television season, with CBS Studios and Sony Pictures Television as production partners. The show premiered on April 24, 2014 in the 9:30 p.m. time slot. Ari Grainer played the Cameron Diaz role, while Sarah Gilbert, Ryan Hansen, David Alan Grier, Kristen Davis and Sarah Rodier also appeared. On May 10, 2014, CBS cancelled Bad Teacher after airing only 3 episodes. Bad Teacher last aired on May 22, 2014. References. External links: official website, Bad Teacher at AllMovie, Bad Teacher at Box Office Mojo, Bad Teacher at the Internet Movie Database, Bad Teacher at Metacritic, Bad Teacher at Rotten Tomatoes.